So for some tips going from part-time to full-time, this is an easy one for me because I did it. I was actually doing accounting work, normal schedule, Monday through Friday. I think I was working like 7 to 3:30 or 4. I had quite a schedule. Also had 5 kids when I got into the business, so we had a lot of stuff going on. So for me, I think the important part is getting a real grip on your schedule. I think most people come into this part-time and they kind of wing it. And they dial when they roll out of bed one day and it's like, oh, today seems like a good day to dial, or today seems like a good day to run. I've seen a lot of people lack discipline or prioritizing their world so that they can schedule this. So we had to really lock down our schedule. Again, mine was what I told you, Monday through Friday. I also had my kids from a previous marriage. I would get them on Wednesdays and every other weekend. And I wanted to do my best to keep that schedule. When I first got in, I was actually dialing on Sundays. I'd go to church. We'd get home at 1 after we did some chores, grocery shopping, whatever. So I'd try to be on the phone by 1, and I would dial for a few hours, 3 or 4 hours. And I found that a good time to dial. I did it for a year that way. And I would book appointments for Monday and Tuesday evening after work. I would get 2 or 3 appointments in each night. Ideally, 3 was what I was trying to do. As long as they were in the vicinity of each other, I could make that work. And now with technology, obviously you can do remote sales, phone sales, Zoom sales. I would dial during my lunch breaks, and if I had to in the evenings on Thursday and Friday, and I would book up my Saturday. And I would try, depending on the week, if I had the kids or didn't, I would try to get like 4 to 8 appointments in. One of the things I did really well that I see a mistake with is when this is part-time and you have your full-time job. One of the things I did is I opened a separate bank account. So the insurance money went into a different bank account than my regular paycheck and my bills were paid. Because for me, this was like a business that I was starting. So I wanted to make sure that it didn't mix in with my personal money, and I didn't want to change my lifestyle before I was ready, because then I would have had to keep the job and the insurance longer. So I opened a separate bank account. All of my insurance money went into that separate bank account. In my world, we buy leads, so we don't have to spend a lot of time prospecting. So the only thing that came out of that bank account was my lead costs. For the first year, I didn't take any personal money out of that account. I didn't give myself a check. I didn't increase my pay, and I wasn't making a bunch of money at the accounting job. I was making like 40 something grand a year. I was behind on bills. I had credit card debt. We were living broke. We were still like using coupons to shop for grocery. And I just stayed disciplined enough to not dip into that at all, because my goal was to save 6 months worth of income so I could quit and go full time. And the sooner I did that, the quicker I could get out. So I made sure that, again, not only did I have the separate bank account, I literally didn't touch any of the money other than for leads. If you have weekends available and you can run Saturday, Sunday and not mess around with the part-time evening thing, because the downside to running 2 or 3 in the evening was a lot of times I didn't even sit with someone, much less make a sale, because it was only 2 or 3 appointments. So I get, a cancel, a one leg and a no-show, and I drive home. So that happened often, but I understood with my schedule that's what I had to do. And I understood if I ran appointments every week and I was consistent over the course of the month, I was making 4, 5, 6 grand a month part-time, and my comp at the time with the company I was with was terrible. I did fairly well just because I was very consistent. But if you have weekends off and you can run like a full day Saturday, full day Sunday, and not worry about it during the week, and you can just do your normal routine during the week, that gives you like the feel for what a full-time schedule is going to be like and the momentum you can have because it's a different game running 2 or 3 in a day versus running 6, 8, or 10 in a day. It's a very, very different feel. You can run Saturday, Sunday. I would recommend that highly. But the reality is you just got to figure out your schedule. You got to be on the same page with your family. We kept it on the fridge when I was going to run, when I was going to dial, so everybody knew there was no confusion. Nothing ever got in the way, because for us it was a plan to get out of the situation we were in. So my wife and the kids were all on board with it. And certainly if something came up and we had something on the schedule that I couldn't move, I just adjusted my insurance schedule. It was all good. But we mapped out a month at a time and really had to stay insanely disciplined, because it was literally almost like having 2 full-time jobs at the time, because I was having to learn it too and do study and training and things like that. The schedule is going to be key. Your family being involved is going to be key. And then you figuring out what kind of income you need to get out and what kind of savings. Like, everybody's situation is different. So you just got to figure out what your goals are and where you need to be financially and set a benchmark for it and go hit it. Most people aren't disciplined enough, and they kind of want to like dip their toe in a little bit. But if you have a full-time job, keep it. Don't leave it too soon unless you got a bunch of money in the bank. Use that job income to fund the insurance side, unless you got another way to get clients and you're doing something else. In my world, again, we buy leads, so we didn't have to mess with friends and family or cold call or bang on businesses or whatever. So for me, we had to keep investing, which allowed us to not spend as much time prospecting. See that as a mistake for some part-time people is they don't continue to invest in leads properly, and they drag that process of the transition out a lot longer than necessary. You just gotta be a student. You gotta expect it to take a minute. Think about the job you have now. You go back to day one, you were uncomfortable and you didn't understand everything, and there was a learning curve. And that's gonna be true here as well. Some people pick it up quicker than others. I was a slow start. It obviously turned out okay. Some people come into this thing selling more in a week than I did in a month when I was part-time. And that's okay. Maybe that's you, maybe it's not. But the willingness to go through the process of it is required. No different than if, I don't know, you wanted to go back to school and become an attorney. You would understand that the time, energy, and effort you were going to have to put into classes and night school and homework and whatever it is to accomplish that degree or that career, you would have to commit to that process before you started. So if you're going to start, commit to it. Don't dip your toe in. I've coached now thousands of agents over the years. Those that stick with it always become successful. And the ones that don't stick with it or expect it to work overnight or aren't willing to go through that process or frustrated with the no's or the negative sides of the business, the cancels, the chargebacks, whatever the stuff is, those ones tend to quit way too soon. Maddox plays baseball. My youngest, he's 10. When we go out there, he makes a lot of mistakes. Certainly he gets down on himself, but I have to remind him every week, him and the other kids, like, you're 10 and you're learning. It's supposed to be a train wreck at this age. Part of getting better at baseball. No one's confused if you had kids and they come home frustrated after one practice or two practices or three practices and they're out of control or they're mad or pissed that they aren't having some level of success. Think about what you would tell that kid. Just got to practice more. You know, in the baseball world, if you understand baseball at all, the ideal or the elite, they still fail 7 out of 10 times. So if you get 3 hits out of 10, you're, an all-star player. And if you do that for 10 years in a row, you're in the Hall of Fame. And this business can be very similar. You can make a lot of money going, selling 3 leads out of 10 or even 3 appointments out of 10 appointments. You can make significant money if you're putting the numbers on your side. Be coachable as well. And you should typically have a mentor that's done what you want to do, that is there and willing to help. And if you don't, they're not hard to find. Again, as you're willing to go through that process, part of that process is talking about and just being vulnerable to the mistakes you're making and getting someone to coach and guide you through those mistakes so you can get better. If you do that properly, the transition from part-time to full-time can happen extremely quick. And I've seen it. Again, I did it pretty slow. And again, I wasn't at FFL at the time or with our company, and my comp was terrible. And I still, in 12 months, I made 60 grand part-time. So this was 9 years ago. I promise you, it was terrible comp at the time. So it can be done. I just was very intentional. I got a lot of help and guidance, and the plan, we stuck to it. It's pretty simple. So that'd be my advice there.